Hello everyone. This today we're going to be doing a have a discussion about the about developing and co-developing a peer review manuscript on Huntington's. So I'm presuming that that's the cohort that everyone's interested, the cohort that's in this call today to talk about that. And before going into it, I thought we'd do some intros. And I just also want to double check that everyone got the sort of generic outline of overview or like fact sheet of Huntington's.
Yeah.
Yeah, if everyone got that, because it's just a generic outline, just to give an idea of what the condition is about. But basically, that everyone's got that, and also like the template manuscript that basically gives an idea of what a manuscript should look like. Yeah. Okay. So before going any further, if can I have some introductions from everyone, please?
Hi, I'm Rianne. I'm going into my third year of pharmacology at COV. I'm 25. Uh, I don't know what else to say. Nice to
So
meet you guys.
you're doing pharmacology. Okay,
Yeah.
what particular aspect of that are you doing at the moment, like in your course, in your work?
So we've had a break for the summer, so I've
Okay.
not been doing too much, just sort of doing my own research, really. I've been quite interested in GLP-1 drugs, so I've done a little
Okay.
fact file over those because, yeah, I think that they're quite interesting. And then
Okay,
just
cool.
trying to keep up with anatomy and physiology revision, really, just so that I'm not super rusty when I go back into third year.
Yeah, okay, excellent, excellent. Okay then, and yeah, anyone next?
I'll start.
Yeah.
So my name is Sneha Lakhani, and I am currently I'm in my placement year. I am a third year, I would say, a biomedical sciences student.
Okay.
And I started my placement at MSD as a clinical trial coordinator just a
Oh,
month
that's
ago.
excellent. That's excellent.
And
Yes.
and I'm gonna have my last year next year. And in the biomedical sciences, I'm doing bachelor's, and I'm 21. So I'm just really excited to work with everyone, and thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, yeah, no problem. Okay, great. And yourselves?
Uh, Hi, my name is Malki. I'm doing my MSc in Biomedical Sciences. Just finished first semester, going to some second semester soon. So just wanted to join. I did a research before with Professor Pauline Brunel during my undergrad. So I was really interested when I saw this, and thank you for the opportunity as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm 26.
No problem. Thank you. And is it Justin who's on this call?
Yes, hi, I'm Justin. I'm studying my MSc in biomedical science. Um, what else?
Yeah. So you're doing your So what year are you in, or are you doing a master's? Sorry.
Yeah, master's,
Sorry.
master.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. And what subject, what aspects of biomedical sciences are you doing within the masters?
I'm on the clinical biochemistry aspect.
Okay, great, great. Okay,
Yeah,
okay, that's really good. Very yeah, it's very intriguing to get all those kinds of backgrounds. It's quite nice actually to see that there's different, different kind of experiences, different backgrounds, because some of you are undergrad, some of you are postgrad. So it's nice to get a kind of an understanding where you are all. Before going ahead, has anyone have you all had some idea or experiences at looking at published works, like literature reviews or narrative reviews or clinical trial works, those kinds of things, amongst the literature. Have you all had some exposure or experience in around that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. That's brilliant. Thank you. Okay, so in the email, everyone would have got an overview of in around some generic information about Huntington's disease. Yeah. Um, Now, the some of the obviously the generic information is a little bit dated. Some of it is a little bit dated, but at the same time, it's the information within that is still relevant and it's still significant. It's important because some of the obviously some of the clinical aspects around the condition, some of the biomedical aspects around the condition are still, important in amongst research and what's been published in today's in amongst today's sort of literature, and by different authors and investigators. But basically, in part of this, what I wanted to do is see that everyone has a sort of a sort of has an agreement or a consensus that they work together to actually develop, or co-develop one manuscript on this particular condition, looking at different aspects. So, for example, that based on so again, so I had a discussion, again, just to remind myself, but also to iterate to you, that with cohort one, we talked about, basically about Crouzon syndrome, and we talked about basically where everyone should develop or co-develop the manuscript, looking at like the aims, introduction, aims, methodology, and sort of looking at biomedical practices and clinical practices, because I always think to from a laboratory practice side or laboratory medicine side, generally the two things, so clinical practices or frontline practices can't really survive without laboratory practices, and vice versa. So in the paper, in this manuscript around Huntington's, I think there should be a focus. There should be a focus on both elements, so the clinical practices and the biomedical practices, for the purposes of this work, as well. I think it would be quite nice to have a part of the manuscript looking at sort of the clinical trial, some new some aspects and around some new clinical trials that are being done to better the the care and healthcare for people who are diagnosed with Huntington's, and also there should be I think, obviously, like any other any published works, there should be the sort of an element around discussion and conclusion, as well. Sort of the findings around the whole manuscript. What does the whole manuscript inform? There should be in this as well. Once the whole manuscript is developed and co-developed, there should be an abstract, something like 250 or 300 words, just to surmise, surmise or summarize the works, the paper, generally speaking. And I'd also, in the table that I shared with yourselves, in the original email, there would have been a suggestion of the potential journal that can be approached once the manuscript is finalized. And I've abbreviated it as the RS, a journal by the RSM. I'm thinking at the moment that RSM, which is the Royal Society of Medicine, they have a journal. They have like an editorial journal, but they have a main journal as well. So at the moment, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking that RSM could be one of the potential journals that we can approach, to have this work published. But also, where we could think about, if you can think about other particular journals that the work could be published in, then please, suggest that other journals that can be potentially approached for this works. Um, Additionally, we're thinking about where, so what would be good, is that an overview of this work could be, once it's completed, that the abstract can be put forward to a particular seminar or symposia to present. And the idea would be that, if there is a particular place, where it can be presented, if for example the abstract is accepted, then basically, either any of you can be put forward, or could actually potentially present the work, as published works, and within a particular scientific scientific remit, you know. So I think, you know, this year, for example, I think is it next month they have there's the Institute of Biomedical Sciences in September, but that's obviously a bit too soon. But basically, there are other seminar remits, but have a think, you know, about where it can be you know, an overview can be potentially presented either as an oral presentation or as a poster presentation, because I think that would be good and it can stand out hopefully on your CVs and resumes. You know, if you know when you look to progress in your work or in your careers, for example. So if you have a think about that, that would be good. Um, so one thing before additionally, I wanted to just make sure that I have the additional information. I want to make sure that I got the uh, information that I also shared with the other cohort, um, and that is to say that 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 all should have like any manuscript, and I think it's in the template manuscript that was sent across to yourselves, that there should be about three or four or five points in around what the manuscript adds, what it adds, or what's new, you know, in around the topic, and what and also like the impact, the sort of potential impact of what has been, you know, of what has been put together in this manuscript. So basically, between 3 and 5 points, sort of on those three different things, and so that basically when it goes in for peer review for a potential journal, for example, then editors and reviewers, when they look to review it, they can see that they, you know, those are the like main points of the manuscript or of the work. So have a think about, you know, that as well, because I think that's very important. Um, uh, and we're thinking in terms of um, word count. I think uh, something like in the region of 3,000, maybe 4,000 words. Um, each journal, generally each journal has each journal generally has author guidelines, and author guidelines, depending on which journal is approached, they tend to have sort of a word count in around a particular in around a particular manuscripts that are put in for peer review. But I'm given a general word count, which should be about, yeah, 3,000 or 4,000 words. The abstract should be around 250 or 300 words. Um, and referencing. So referencing can be in either Vancouver, in either what's known as, obviously, there's the Vancouver and Harvard method. One is numbered, one is you know, lettered. Basically, in the initial parts of, you know, developing this works, I it's basically can be Harvard or it can be Vancouver, but whatever it is that you decide as a cohort, as a group, that you just make sure that that's consistent within, you know, in the way that you're, you know, putting the work together. Um, yeah, so basically those are the main sorts of things that that I wanted to, you know, put across to you. Um, uh, is there is there like following the emails that have been sent, because I know there's been probably one or two emails that have gone you know, come across, and as part of this discussion, is there any sort of particular questions that anyone has?
Sorry, I have a question.
Yeah.
Uh, I was reading through the manuscript that you send
Oh
about the
yes.
topics and everything. So it's talking about laboratory, about all the surveys and everything. So I just want to know how we are actually going to do this. Like, are we going to do some laboratory testing, or are we
Oh,
going to do research about it and we are writing about it?
yes. So
Just
yes, very good question. I should have I should have probably made that a bit clear. So yeah, so this the manuscript idea, it will be more like a literature based one. So there's no practical or laboratory aspects to it, from a physical, from a physical stance. But the the idea would be to go through the literature and develop the work, like a review basically. Hence why when the original one of the original emails, there was a template manuscript that was attached, looking at a completely different topic, but that was attached so that you get that you guys get an idea of what the manuscript could look like or should look like, in a review way. Um, in cohort one, one of the questions they asked, or someone asked also, was to do with whether it should be, whether there can be some aspects of the written work looking at comparing and contrasting, sort of perspectives, and that's completely fine as well. That's completely fine. So for example, one author in published works might say that such and such treatment or pharmacotherapeutics might be advantageous for particular aspects of Huntington's, whilst another author or investigator might say that that particular pharmacotherapeutic is not useful or it might not help. So it's okay to have compare and contrast perspectives in that, because I think that also makes the the manuscript quite more intriguing for reviewers, and for the peer reviewed aspect as well. So you can you if it's done in a review sort of way, that'd be quite good. And In terms of, so normally, when if it's like 3,000 or 4,000 words, then basically, we're looking at, um, basically where, um, the number of references or citations, for example, that can be anything from, basically 30 up to maybe 50 references, something like that. That's just like a sort of average. So it can be less, and it could be slightly more, but just giving you an idea of the sort of number of works that you can look at to compose the review, to make it a really good review. Um, and Additionally, it'd be nice, if everyone spends about, anything, from, a one to three or maybe 4 hours, a week on this or something like that. I'm not. It's not to impose on your time. It's to actually basically so that the work, it kind of coincides, or it's synchronizes with what you're already doing, as part of your works or your courses and things like that. That's basically the way to look at it. And I would, like I said, I will put some notes in an email to all of you, after this course, so you have a bit more information in that way. And It'd be good, as I said, if one of you kind of leads on the communication side of things, so that basically, when you started to develop things, and then you wanted to share like some maybe an initial outline of what you've done, or some outline or written works that you've done, that you can share that with me, and you can basically then look to schedule a call, schedule a follow-up call, I said to cohort one to do the same as well. That there'd be a lead in from that side as well, so that one person leads the communication, and that everyone is then on the same page with different whatever aspects that need to be discussed and shared. So yeah, that's basically what where we're at with this with this sort of introductory call. Is there any more questions?
Do we have a like definitive deadline date, or is it
Oh yeah,
more
that's a
broad
good.
than that?
Okay, so I've left in a way I've left that open. I've basically thought to myself that it would be good to have something done ideally by the end of this year. Like basically, because to do actually develop a really good manuscript, it can take anything from 1 to 3 months. I'm not it's not there's no strict deadline per se. And I said that also in some ways to cohort one, and I'll be saying the same thing to cohorts three and four. So basically, if I say ballpark, probably around and up to like mid-December, basically, as a ballpark. At least to have if not a final version, then a draft version. The draft version should look like basically the manuscript that was sent as a template in the email. It should look something like that. In where it's completed or near finalized. So then that way we could then that way I can then put it make that sort of any particular final updates on it, and then put it forward to the particular journal that we've gone ahead and selected. That's what I'm thinking. Uh, if for any reason, for example, that there are any issues with anything, then anyone is welcome to email or follow up with any particular questions or etc. That's not a problem. So if you wanted to do that, you're welcome to do that as well. But as I said, I will send across an email with surmising or summarizing this particular call, and then we can have further discussions if required through email and have and then basically I'll look to hear from you guys as to when you want to do the next call. I'll leave it open in that way.
Thank you so
Anything else?
much. I don't think I've got any other questions now.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I agree on this. I feel like we all should actually make a group and discuss everything and then do a joint call and give you updates about things that we are working
Yeah,
on.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
fine. If anyone has any challenges or any aspect of this, of the developing the manuscript or anything, just feel free to, email. Just, I'm pretty much, 24/7, so it's not an issue. Basically, I'll leave it with you guys. You can in the email there will be so I sent an overview on the on Huntingtons. That version that overview didn't have references or citations. So I'll send another one which will have some citations, references, which you can at least start using. If you want to use sort of books or textbooks, to actually refer to, in around and looking up Huntington's as well. That's absolutely fine. There are some, if one other thing is, there are some papers out there just to say that might have aspects of Huntington's, but then actually go into conditions that are that are similar to Huntington. So just to be aware of that, because when investigators or authors publish works, they tend to start with aspects around Huntington, around sort of a particular clinical condition, or for example, then they actually you realize that the a paper then focuses more into a different aspect of of a different condition entirely. So just to be aware of that, and it's with Crouzons, basically, which is obviously what I was discussing with cohort one. There are various similar conditions to Crouzons that or symptoms that are similar to some of the symptoms of Crouzon. So it's the same thing. The same thing applies to them as well, to cohort one. So just to be made aware of that when you look for literature, or you find you look to identify literature as well. So any other questions?
No, I
No.
think I don't have any questions for now.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt you, Justin. Sorry.
Yeah, me too. No questions. Well, if anything comes up, I'll reach out through email.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, that's great, Justin. Thank you. Okay, then I'll leave it like that, and you'll get an email from me. And I put since there were 6 of you in the email, I haven't had anyone who wants to drop out at the moment. So I'll basically email everyone as was in the original table that was sent out. And so I'll copy other colleagues who haven't attended, so that can be shared with them as well. And then at least everyone's got everything at the same time as well. So yeah, okay. I'll leave that like that, and we'll catch up as and when. Yeah, I'll leave that open to you. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks then. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.